Thank you, Gina, for recording the session. This is exactly 6:30 my time. So I guess we can commence with the program today. To start, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Sopani Robert Newa. I'm the program manager for Animal Advocacy Africa. So I am responsible for leading the strategic planning and implementation of our capacity building interventions in Africa. And with me within the team of Animal Advocacy Africa, I'm with Jean. You might not necessarily maybe interact with her a lot, but she is in the background making all the magic and pulling all the strings for this webinar to happen. Beyond that, allow me to just explain a little bit about this webinar series. For those of you who this is the first time you are joining the Animal Advocacy Africa webinar series, I would also take time to describe what Animal Advocacy Africa is and the work that we do here in Africa. And then after that, I'm going to introduce our two presenters this evening. So to start with, Animal Advocacy Africa works to strengthen the funding capacities and effectiveness of African animal advocacy organizations that are reducing animal suffering, particularly that of farmed animals compared to other forms of animals that are there. We are proud to be the first effective altruism aligned organizations dedicated to building the capacities of existing organizations in Africa by focusing on funding and doing or by implementing a capacity building program that is focused on either one-to-one interactions with organizations or group sessions, which helps advocates develop the relevant skills and a clear understanding of running an effective animal charity. We provide advice and resources ranging from fundraising, strategy, decision-making, operations, and communications. The aim of our program interventions is to help organizations overcome challenges, prepare for growth, and to do more effective work that will help animals in relatively neglected geographical regions of Africa. Now, that's just a brief summary of what Animal Advocacy Africa does in the African continent. Just to do some closing remarks here, Animal Advocacy Africa still has a long way in helping animal advocacy organizations in Africa in reducing animal suffering. We feel that we currently there are approximately about 3.2 billion land-based farm animals in Africa, and a shift towards intensive animal farming practices is expected to occur. So because of this, we are committed to helping organizations in Africa because the continent only receives maybe roughly about 0.6% of total global farm animal funding. So even though maybe around 11% and counting, of course, land-based farm animals currently are found within the African region. So at the same time, we believe that there are many animal welfare organizations and advocates that are eager and are aware of their role in reducing animal suffering. So we work to empower these advocates and improve their capacity to help animals so they are ready to absorb more funding. So we believe the time is now. Now is the critical time to help build the animal movement in Africa before animal farming practices become more intensive. just to highlight that currently we are working with about 19 organizations to improve their capacities to grow so much so that they can be ready to absorb more funding and make effective, impactful work on the ground. So that's just a brief summary of our work. Allow me to switch gears a little bit and introduce the speakers of this webinar series today. We have two presenters. One is from Malawi and the other one is from Zimbabwe. I will start by introducing Sanele from Zimbabwe. Sanele is the founder of Nurture Imvelo Trust, a youth organization in Zimbabwe. She's a woman driven by the love for animals. She volunteers at Sibaye Animal Welfare and Conservancy Trust as a board member. You know, she's very passionate. She wishes youth and women could be empowered through animal welfare education to improve their participation in conservation, advocacy, research, and humane treatment. According to her educational background, she holds a national diploma in agriculture and a Bachelor of Science in Animal and Wildlife from the Midlands State University in Zimbabwe. She also holds a postgraduate degree in monitoring and evaluation from Lupane State University. And currently she's pursuing her studies in Masters in Biodiversity Conservation. So that's Sanele. I believe when she comes on and presenting her work in Zimbabwe, she would also talk more about herself. The next presenter is Eveline. Eveline is from Malawi. Eveline was born in the Netherlands and has lived in Malawi since 2005. She is the CEO of LSPCA since 2020. And prior to that, she's also involved in hotel and hospitality industry for about 15 years now. Currently, Eveline is the president of the Rotary Club of Lilongwe Society, as well as the secretary to the board of INUA Advocacy, an organization advocating for the rights of refugees. Eveline feels strongly about making a lasting and sustainable impact on the community and animal welfare and the environment, which she does through her work, both with LSPCA and the Rotary Club. So those are our guest speakers for the day. Now, maybe allow me to not waste time and pass it down to Sanele to present her presentation. While she's presenting, I think to everyone else, I think I would encourage you to jot down areas where you'd want clarification or questions on, because at the end of the day, I mean, at the end of the two presentations, we are going to give you room to ask questions, to make comments, etc. So I believe we're all excited to hear from our friends and the work that, the impactful work that they are doing in the African region. Thank you. Sanele, over to you.
Thank you so much, Sopani. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you very much for such lovely introductions, getting to educate us a bit about Animal Advocacy Africa. So I'll jump straight into my presentation. So I'm here to present our work that we do towards improving animal welfare in Zimbabwe and Africa at large. So there is a quote that I loved. It says, animals have no voice. They can't ask for help. They can't ask for freedom. They can't ask for protection. Humanity must be their voice. That was by Anthony D. Williams. Next slide, Jenna. Okay, so first things first, I'll give you the background of the organization. So we're saying Nurture Imvelo Trust. Who are we? We are actually a youth organization that is based in Zimbabwe, like Sopani had indicated earlier. We seek to create an environment where we're saying animal welfare and biodiversity should thrive through education, through conservation, through advocacy, research, as well as humane treatment of animals. We were founded last year, that was 2021, with the two main goals being goal number one, to bridge the knowledge gap that was existing in animal welfare in the country. Our second goal was to advocate for improved animal welfare in the country using Afrocentric ways in trying to push the animal welfare movement. Moving on to our vision, we envision a habitable, peaceful, and just world for the environment, human beings, and animals. So basically, we're saying we are working towards making sure that the One Health approach comes in. We're saying the health of the animals, the health of the environment, as well as the health of the people. Next slide, Jenna. Then moving on to our mission, we seek to create an environment where animal welfare and biodiversity to thrive through education, conservation, advocacy, research, and humane treatment. Which animals are we focusing on? For now, we are focusing on farmed animals, chickens, the pigs. Then we're also focusing on working animals, which is our donkeys for now. Then we also focus on companion animals, that's the cats and dogs. Next slide. Okay, so like any other institution, we also have an organizational structure which governs the organization. We have the board, which is inclusive of the director, the chair, the vice chair, the secretary, and the board members. We have our programs director who oversees all the programs that we do. Then we have a welfare programs coordinator, the one who oversees mostly welfare programs. Then we also have environmental programs. So on this program, we make sure that the environmental programs coordinator takes care of all the programs. Then we also have a community liaison officer. This is the person who is in charge of making sure that the works between us and the communities are kept in line. Moving on to the next slide. Okay, so we have collaborations, like local and international collaborations, but for the purposes of this presentation, we had to only put the local collaborations. We have the veterinary services, Matebelele South, Esigodini. This is the vet services. They make sure that they help us in all the, should I say, medical related programs that we do. Then we also collaborate with Sibanya Animal Welfare and Conservancy Trust, that's based in Lupane. We collaborate with Esigodini Agricultural College for most of our One Health programs. Then we collaborate with Zimbabwe Coalition for Climate Change for most of our environment programs. We also collaborate with Madobo Rural District Council for mostly working animal programs. Okay, so moving on to the projects that we have done since 2021. So we have been doing research. So I could say Nurture Imvelo Trust believes that for an organization to say they are coming in with an intervention, there should be a need for them to find out what exactly is there on the ground. Or should I say they should find out what exactly the communities know pertaining to the kind of intervention that they want to bring within the community. So we have done a research on the use of stalls and farrowing crates in pig farming. The main reasons for carrying out this research was to understand the level of the use of stores and crates by pig farmers in the country, and to understand how these farmers perceive the use of stores and crates versus the welfare of the animal. Next slide. Then we've also done a research in form of a survey on the use of battery cages in egg production. Also, the main goals were to understand the level of the use of cages in egg production in the country, and also to understand how farmers perceive the use of cages versus hen welfare. So I could say one of the other reasons why we had to carry out these researches, it was for us to be well informed on the steps or the intervention to be taken on pig welfare and on hen welfare, so that we could maybe try to push towards alleviation of suffering of the hens and the pigs. Next slide. Okay, we've also done a program on working animals welfare, that's donkey welfare. So we've been deworming our donkeys to safeguard against internal parasites. We've also raised awareness on donkey welfare through community education and advocacy. Basically, we've been trying to engage the communities to make them realize the importance of taking care of their donkeys, because most of these communities believe that a donkey is a bit less of value than maybe a cow or a goat. So we've been trying to engage them in all those kind of areas. Next slide, Jenna. Okay, we've also been involved in Rabies Awareness campaign. So one of the main reasons for us to be involved in Rabies Awareness, this is sort of like a contribution towards the 0 human deaths that are caused by rabies, so that there could be a reduction by the year 2030. According to the Global Alliance Rabies Control 2022, the average number of deaths in Zimbabwe due to rabies has been 410 per year, and the vaccination coverage being 11.15%, which is a very, very low coverage. So there is still need for us to continue with the rabies awareness programs, making sure dogs are vaccinated. There is also community education, awareness raising, which is aimed at creating and spreading awareness on rabies prevention. Let's move on, Jenna. Then we also have been having community mobile clinics where we get a vet person who will treat the sick animals that are dogs. Then also inclusive of dog cleanliness campaign, where we'll be bathing our dogs, dipping them for external parasites, as well as engaging communities on dog welfare issues that are inclusive of cleanliness, feeding, shelter, and all the other factors that are involved in raising a healthy dog. Let's move. Next slide. So during our interaction with communities on the mobile clinics, we also get to feed dogs within the communities. Okay, so one of the programs that we have is a program, I love calling it Gender in Animal Space, but basically it's just a program where we're saying we need to try and make sure that women participate more in animal welfare issues. So this program aims at improving women participation in animal advocacy through education. There are different programs that we've been tackling within this program, like we've had a couple of sessions for this program. We've had one on how to make sure that fruits and vegetables, like local fruits and vegetables, that's the traditional fruits and vegetables that are found in communities, how do they get to preserve them and consume them later, or when they are no longer found in abundance. So that was a program that was aimed at showing people that if we are talking of vegan meals, we're not only referring to very expensive meals like what everybody would say. We do have our vegan or plant-based diets that are local or traditional that we could preserve and consume during deficit. So that's one of the programs that we have done on gender in animal space. Let's move on. Then what are the challenges that we've been facing? So we were founded during the COVID-19 era. So implementing most of the programs has been a bit challenging. There's been a whole lot of lockdowns, social distancing, all those. So you find that most of the programs were stalled due to lockdowns, and there was sort of audience reduction when it came to issues of how many people in a room, how many people in such type of a car when maybe going for programming and all this. So that was one of the challenges that we faced. Then secondly, coming to funding, I think everyone would agree with me that as a new organization, it's difficult to fundraise because funders or donors still need to gain some trust in you as an organization and the kind of work that you do. So it's been a bit challenging when it comes to funding. Then also the issue of the unstable political environment. For an example, it's been very difficult for us to get MOUs, operating memorandum of understanding. So it's been quite stressful. You're told to go into this office, thrown to the other office. So you just get so much of a runaround, but there's nothing that we can really do about it. Next slide. Okay, so what are we saying about the organization moving forward? What are the plans? So one of the main plans that we've been having is to try and establish animal welfare clubs in universities. We are a youth organization, and we wish we could target to mobilize more youths into animal welfare. So we're thinking one of the strategies that we're going to use is to establish animal welfare clubs in universities. Then the second strategy, we hope to launch a social media campaign against the use of battery cages, because from the survey that we did, we realized that most farmers are talking of profits or production versus welfare. So there is need for campaigns on that. Then also, we wish to be working with other local organizations in the country to lobby for the review of the animal science curriculum so that they could include animal welfare, because animal welfare as a subject on its own is not covered in the animal sciences curriculum. So that's one of the other things that we're looking forward to doing moving forward. So where do you get to find us? You can contact us on Nurture Imvelo Trust, that's on Facebook, at Imvelo Trust, Twitter, and Nurture Imvelo ZW at gmail.com. That's our email. This marks the end of my presentation. Thank you. I welcome questions, suggestions, and comments. Thank you, Jenna.
Well, thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. It was very exciting to learn what Sanele and her colleagues are doing in Zimbabwe. Seems like you're doing quite a lot of impactful work. and very valuable work. For the time being, I open the floor to everyone else to ask questions. Maybe we can give it about 5 to 10 minutes of questions and clarifications or comments. Yeah, so anyone who's got questions. Yes, Abdul.
Yes, thank you very much. Your name is a bit difficult for me to pronounce.
No worries.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for the presentation. And a quick one regarding your work on pet welfare, especially with the mobile clinic and the dog welfare. How is the reception of the people you meet, especially in their homes? Okay, to be able to talk to them about pet welfare and also treat them. And I don't know whether you have already established a rescue center, or how are you dealing with street dogs especially? Thank you very much. I don't know whether my question.
Can I go on?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay. So when it comes to the mobile clinics, what we do, we actually go into the community. We get to set a dates with the community leaders to tell them on such a date, we'll be having this program, maybe in area A at such a time, area B at such a time, and area C at such a time. So people with dogs that are not well, that need to be fed, that need to be vaccinated, and all those can come to this area A, B, or C at such a time. So you find that most of the people would definitely come because one would be knowing that their dog has not been vaccinated for rabies. So the dog will get the vaccination. Secondly, they'll be having that mind of saying, I need my dog to be fed, because we would feed, then maybe give a home package for maybe we share 10 kgs into 2 dogs. That's about 3 or 4 days of feeding. So the person will definitely come to make sure that the dog gets vaccinated, the dog gets bathed and dipped, as well as getting food and a home package. I don't know whether I responded well to the question.
Yes, I'm okay. I'm okay. That is a very good project you are doing. Thank you.
Yeah, I think there is also some comments and a question in the chat. I will just read it out. This is from Moritz. So Sanele, Moritz is asking about your research that you have done. Has it been published somewhere, and what were the key findings of your research?
Okay, thank you, Morris, for the question. The research has not been published. That's responding to the first question. It has not been published, but on the key findings, one of the main findings that we have is most producers or most farmers, let me put it that way, do not really have an idea on issues to do with hen welfare and use of battery cages. Because the moment you talk to the farmer, try and engage them on why is it that you are maybe using battery cages instead of using a deep litter? The first response would be, deep litter is expensive. How is it expensive? It's expensive in terms of diseases management. It's expensive in terms of maybe disease management, feeding, because this other farmer told us that for feeding a hen in cages, it's 125 grams per day, but for feeding in deep litter, it becomes 5 grams more. So that person already is considering a margin of 5 grams at the expense of the welfare of a hen. So one thing that I could say is they have no, I don't think we could say they have no idea on how bad cages are. Probably they do, but it's welfare versus production for them. And as someone who's in business, obviously they'll prefer higher profits to depleter.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for that answer. I can see Modo Dambuya is also raising a hand.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. And good afternoon, presenter. I want to ask two questions, if I can be helped to clarify this. One of the questions is, do you people go into teaching the advocates on the animal welfare to build their capacity on animal welfare or animal behavior or caring and some clinical examination? Do you do that? And also, the other question is, do you put into consideration when you are using animal for research? Do you take consideration of the 3 R's? The 3 R's. Thank you.
I did not get the question.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Can I come again?
Yes, you can.
Yes. Do you people teach or do you enlighten your advocates on animal welfare, animal behavior, animal caring, and some of the fundamental animal welfare freedoms? And also, do you teach them on clinical or first aid? You call them some first aid knowledge. Do you give them some first aid knowledge before they go into the field for advocacy? The second question I mean to say is, do you take into consideration of the 3 R's when you are doing research on the animals?
Okay, let me start by responding to the second question. We do not do research on animals.
Okay.
Because if you're saying we are doing research on animals, are you referring to us doing maybe tests or experiments on animals?
Yeah, exactly.
No, we don't.
Okay, okay.
Then on the first question, I heard you mention something on animal freedoms.
Yeah, do you try to teach your advocates? You know, advocate is growing and new members are coming. Probably they may not have knowledge on how to do clinical examination or some care and wound management or to know animal behavior. So do you go ahead to teach them, to capacitize them on those areas so that they can advocate in the field?
Okay, on one of my on one of the points on 2020 moving forward, I indicated that we wish to work towards improving the curriculum for animal sciences to include animal welfare. And most of the things that you spoke about are within animal welfare as a subject on its own. So if we could possibly try and work towards that, so that every tertiary institution that offers animal science in the country could make sure that all that is included within the curriculum. But as for us, we do not, we are not authorized to do, you mentioned something like postmortems. Can you hear me?
Yes. I was having technical error, but I resolved it now.
So did I respond to you well?
Yeah, the first response I had, but the second response, and I was out already. I just joined.
Okay,
again.
I was saying in one of our way forwards as an organization, I mentioned that we wish to push towards the inclusion of animal welfare as a subject in animal sciences. So
Okay.
all those issues that you spoke of, like postmortem, animal freedoms, they are already within the animal welfare subject. So if it could be included in the curriculum for animal sciences, then I think that could be easier for everyone within the animal welfare movement.
Yeah. That's okay.
Thanks
Thank you.
so much. Thank you so much, Sanele, for the answer. With time, I think I'll take one more question and then we can move on to the next presentation. Linda, I think I see your hand. Linda from Zimbabwe.
Okay. My question is, maybe it was covered because I joined you guys late. So maybe it was covered. Sanele, I just wanted to know at your side, which authorities do you contact or consult first before going for a program? Because for us here in Lupani, it has changed. So I just wanted to know if you also have been affected, which authorities are you supposed to contact before going to the fields?
Okay, thank you, Linda, for the question. So what we do is we go to the police.
Yeah.
We inform them that we are having a program, this program on this date. Then we also include the RDC.
So for the police is for the clearance, isn't it?
Yes, the police is for the clearance.
Okay, yes.
I'm sure the police works with the president's office, but we only deal with the police.
Or you deal with the police?
Yes. Then we inform the RDC.
Yes.
As well as the vet, since they are our, we always work with them in all the programs. Then there is also someone in, like for now, we're working with Matobo, RDC.
Okay.
So there is a person, the community liaison officer, we tell him, then they go to is it the chief or, yeah, then they inform the community leaders, the traditional leaders in the community.
Okay, I get it. Thanks, Sanele.
Thank you.
Well, for the last time, thank you so much for the presentation and for the wonderful responses. Now, I think I would invite Eveline from Malawi to also present the work that they are doing over there. Eveline, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chupani, and thank you all for this opportunity tonight. So my name is Eveline Sibindi van Dam. You'll see in my presentation there's a lot of similarities with the previous presentation. I'm the CEO of the Lilongwe SPCA, only for 2 years, but I was in the board for 9 years before that. We started in 2009, so we've had we have a few years of experience. I'll just go through a few of the things that we're doing. Next slide, please. So our mission and our vision. Our mission is to create a greater awareness within Malawi and the region of the animal welfare issues for all animals through targeted animal welfare education, veterinary training, and the provision of veterinary care for all animals. And our vision is to live in a world that provides for both optimum animal welfare and human livelihoods. But it basically means that in all our work, we also take the One Health approach, whereby we look at the environment, human welfare, human health, and animal welfare and animal health. Next slide. Next slide, please. Jenna, can we have the next slide? Thank you. As the LSPCA, under the LSPCA, we have the Center for Animal Welfare. That's basically where all our projects are run. Please go back. Part of our sustainability part is our veterinary clinic. Jenna, can you put the slide on veterinary hospital, not on training? So our veterinary clinic is it's a 24 hours emergency response. We're just open from Monday to Saturday from 9 to 5. Nurses and vets available. So on the photo you see, this is our new clinic. Last year we just moved into a brand new purposely built clinic, head office and shelter. So yeah, this is for us very important. We are the only accredited and referral hospital in the country. And on Monday we'll be opening also a satellite clinic, which is going to be a small version of the big hospital on the other side of town to improve our services, but also to reach more people and to increase our income. Yeah, next slide, please. Then, so that's our commercial side, and under the Center for Animal Welfare, one of the projects we do is veterinary trainings. A couple of years ago, we helped the university here in Malawi, LUNR, to set up a veterinary department. We currently have 2 cohorts of the first veterinary vets in Malawi that graduated, that are trained in country. The big problem that the university and the college have, because we train the veterinary students and the para-veterinary students, the big problem that they have is that they have no clinic. So there's no practical training for the students whatsoever. So we do that in agreement with LUNR. We also have included animal welfare in the curriculum for both the para-veterinary students as the veterinary students. And we do a training of teachers. So we include welfare. We train them how to include welfare in their teachings. So we take the students to the field where we meet farmers and pet owners, but also the students come to our clinic because we are a very well equipped clinic. So obviously students need to learn how to work with the equipment that we cannot take to the field, such as an oxygen generator, etc. Jenna, next slide. Yeah, and then we also have a mobile veterinary clinic. So this is our community outreach program. So we converted a pickup truck, as you see on the photo, into a mobile clinic. So it has a fridge in there, it has a microscope, it's fully equipped. With that, we reach 50% of the high density areas in Lilongwe. And we reach 100% of all the smallholder farms around Lilongwe. The idea is that it's self-sustainable. It's not yet. So hence we started up the satellite clinic to support to generate income for the mobile clinic. So yeah, twice a week we do farm days, and 3 times a week we do high density areas. So there's more pets. It's mainly dogs and cats. And then again, the focus is on dogs there. And that's completely free of charge. Next slide, please. Thank you. We do a lot of rescue and rehoming. I'll talk about some part of the rescues a bit later. We have a shelter at the clinic. We do not tend to keep the dogs. We have a maximum of 20 dogs and 20 cats that we keep at the time. So we have a very active rehoming program. We actually have a dating site. Well, we call it a dating site. on our social media and on our website, whereby we advertise the animals that are up for adoption. So yeah, if people surrender their animals because they can't look after them, or because the veterinary bills are too high, or because they leave the country, then we'll find them new homes. So yeah, our adoption program is 200 dogs. So yeah, next slide, please. So yeah, we also do a rabies surveillance and continuous vaccination. We started in 2015 with mass rabies vaccination sites, but in 2019 we changed that to continuous vaccination. So we identified 10 hotspots in Lilongwe where the dog bite cases are highest, or where we have found rabies. And throughout the year, we're vaccinating dogs there. We're circulating. So we have like tricycles. We have 5 tricycles, and each person working on a tricycle has 2 areas per week where they go and vaccinate every dog. We also work with a community-led surveillance program. So if we find there's a lot of promotion, we have a toll-free number that people can call if there's a suspect animal. We work with rabies action groups, so community leaders in the community, we get them involved. And the result of it means that we get a lot of calls if there's suspect rabies cases. In that case, if there's a suspect, we either, depending on the severity, we either isolate the animal, or the animal might already be dead, because a lot of times the community stones the animal, unfortunately, and then we'll take it for rabies testing. If the animal is positive, then we do remedial vaccination. So we go 1 kilometer radius around where we found the animal, and we will vaccinate every single animal that we find. We have, last year, we also had twice the children were bitten by once a donkey and once a dog. And then we make sure that the children get treatment as well. So yeah, this aligns with the global drive to end dog transmitted rabies by 2030. So that is 0 by 30. So next slide, please. Right, and then one of our farm animals are the donkeys, obviously. We have been working on the donkey projects, I think, since 2016, 2017. And we've expanded the projects. We doubled it this year. So we work on improving the health and welfare of the donkeys. So what we do, we work together with the farmers who own the donkeys. Usually the donkey drivers are not the farmers themselves, because they often rent them out. So we do free of charge medical clinics. So our vets and our nurses, they go out. But we also train the farmers how to do the dental and hoof care themselves, how to load the carts properly, how to make high quality food, to improve the housing so the donkeys are not standing in the mud or in the rain or in the full sun, and to look after their welfare. So if you see on the photos, the heavy logs, they're widely used in Malawi. So that's a change we started making last year. We have now a few hundred donkeys that have the new harnesses. So these harnesses are recycled conveyor belts from the tobacco industry. And we train the farmers how to make these, how to make the harnesses themselves, and how to convert their existing carts to use the harnesses. Preferably, we would have much lighter carts than we use in Malawi. But we did develop a new cart, but it is very expensive for farmers to buy a new cart, so they don't. So we resulted in the harnesses, and basically for $10, a farmer can make a new harness. And you see that the donkeys, they pull now with their chest, which is a much better. That's where their strength is, and not on their necks. And they also don't create those kind of wounds on their necks, etc. So yeah, that is on our donkey project. And next slide, please. Then we have chicken welfare. So in Malawi, we do have 2 or 3 companies that have caged chickens, but further, all the chickens are free range, which is good. But the transport is the big problem here. Farmers, they go to either the factories or factories or come from the field, and then they carry the chickens upside down, as you see on the bike. This is obviously a cruel, very painful position for the chickens to be in. So what we've done a survey with the transporters to find out what the survival rate is of the chicken, how much they sell them for, do they still sell them when they die on the way, how many are dead, what's the loss of income, etc. So we're trying to find a way to make it commercially interesting for vendors to use another method. So the survey did show that if they have another way of transporting, they will, as long as they make the same amount of money or more. So we are now testing to use crates in the front and the back of the bike. So we have a method that the crate can sit in front of a bike, and then they can carry actually more chickens. And because the chickens are in a crate and not hanging upside down, they can carry more chickens. So we're now developing that bike, and we're going to do a test with a number of vendors to see if they would adopt it. And then we're trying to launch it large scale onto the market. And once that is done, we can involve the government to enforce the ban on carrying chickens upside down, because it is officially banned. But since the vendors don't have an alternative, there is no enforcement of the law when it comes to chicken transport. Next slide, please. Right, so yeah, legislation and enforcement. We do work a lot with government agencies. We work very closely with the Department for Animal Health and Livestock Development. They have just launched a new 5-year plan to increase livestock production in Malawi. And due to the close relationship we have, they included animal welfare in this strategy, which is really great. The big problem we have is that our Protection of Animal Act is from 1970. So the punishment is very low. It's like, I think the maximum punishment for a first offender is $25. As a repeat offender, they can get up to 6 months in jail. But yeah, it takes a lot of education of police officers, prosecutors, and even magistrates to explain what the act is about and what we're trying to do. As you see on the photo, there's a lot of there's a rampant. Well, there was a rampant trade of selling puppies and kittens on the side of the road. So the vendors, they carry the animals in closed backpacks where they suffocate. They're usually way too young to be away from their mothers, and being held up in the sunshine or rain during the day in busy traffic. The vast majority of these animals, they suffer dehydration, hunger, they're worm infested, and very cruelly, a lot of these animals are dyed black, and their ears are glued to the top of their head, so they look like a German Shepherd, and that increases their value. 100% of the animals that come in that are dyed and glued, they die in intensive care. So we're fighting that very hard together with the Lilongwe City Council, the police, and the Department of Animal Health in the Ministry of Agriculture, that we have a very, very efficient MOU with. So yeah, if there's any questions, please give a shout.
Thank you so much, Eveline, for the presentation. There are a lot of insights there, and I think you're doing a lot of impactful and great work in Malawi. So this time around, I think it's open for questions. I think I'll start with the question. I am interested in knowing the reception of large-scale farmers, particularly the ones who are producing chickens, with the animal welfare subject, and how you have coordinated with them to improve maybe chicken situations there in Malawi. Thank you.
All right, so that is a big problem we're facing because there's only 2 or 3 and they're very large scale and very powerful and politically well-connected organizations. The Chicken Project is a new project, so what we're aiming to do is to first show the government that there's a benefit in the work that we do by improving, for example, the transport, and then we go towards the companies that are farming large-scale farming the chickens. So currently we're not engaging them yet because we know we don't have the financial and political willpower to fight them. So we're taking it one step at a time. So yeah, that is in the future plans.
Okay, thank you. Anyone in the audience? I can see Modo has a hand. Over to you.
Yes, thank you so much, Madam, for the great presentation. And I just want to ask a simple question concerning about the dogs that you do find, or you relocate, or you find a new home for them. Do you always make a follow-up for those dogs that find themselves in new home, whether they are in good welfare or they are not? So I just want to know, because sometimes you might give a dog to somebody who is not caring, or maybe a cruel person to the dog. And I just want to know whether you do make a follow-up, or do you know where you the person, you do assess the person, whether the person is animal welfare friendly or is going to be cruel to the dog or what? Thank you.
Yes, if people want to adopt a dog, there's a small fee to it. The reason we put a fee to it is that we know that people understand that there's a cost to having a pet. We either do house visits, or we ask people to send pictures of the bedding, the food, and the water bowls and the house of the dog before they get it. The majority of the people that take our dogs, they become our clients. And for those who don't, we do follow-ups. Yes, we do.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. I have a question from the chat section. So this person is asking you, Eveline, what are the current challenges you are facing as regards to increasing animal welfare?
One major challenge is that the Animal Protection Act is outdated. Another challenge is that working with the police requires a lot of money, because if they don't get paid allowances, they will not do what needs to be done. And they also don't have sufficient transport. So basically, if arrests need to be made, or then we need to provide vehicles and we need to pay allowances in order for police to do their job during working hours. Yeah, working with the government, it is rather slow because we want to update the act, but we can't push it as much as that we wish, because it's not up to us to change the act. Otherwise, it would have been done a long time ago. It has to go through Parliament. So yeah, those are. It's very difficult to fight to advocate for animal welfare if you don't have a strong law on your side. Also culturally, people have little respect for animals, and there's also little understanding of why animal welfare is important. Then we also, because Malawi is one of the poorest nations in the world, a lot of people say like, but you're stopping the vendors from selling animals. Who cares about the dog? The guy needs to make money to feed his family. So there's, so we attached a big social media and media campaign to the awareness of animal welfare and the illegality of animal cruelty.
I agree. I can see a hand from Alfred Siwa.
Thank you so much. This question is about how are they handling the issue of media in Malawi when it comes to them reporting on animal welfare issues. She mentioned an issue to do with laying hens in cages, that most of them are connected. How do they handle those farms that are connected when it comes to publicizing the work that they are doing? And also, how does the media itself, how is it adapting to the new era of animal welfare? We know in Africa it's a new era. How are they adapting? And the legal arena, how are they taking it? I'm looking at three areas. That's the policymakers, the legal arena, and the media fraternity. How is Malawi doing it to make sure that they are roamed into animal welfare issues?
Okay, so the policymakers, because we've already been working very closely with the Department for Animal Health for so many years, as I said, they did include animal welfare quite seriously into their 5-year strategy to increase livestock production. So that is really good. Where it's lacking is the updating of the Animal Protection Act, but it is on the list. They're going to update all the animal related acts, and the Animal Welfare Act, the Animal Protection Act will be updated in that too. It just goes a bit slower than we like. As for the enforcement, it's difficult. We're trying to educate the magistrates, though it comes a bit with you see the legal system in Malawi is very slow and very much overwhelmed. So to them, animal welfare cases are small issues. So they don't see the point of using the punishment of 6 months, which they can. So the perpetrators, they keep walking away with fines of 25,000 kwacha, which is $25. As of media, so the roadside sale of live animals attracts a lot of attention and a big discussion online and in media. The journalists in the beginning were very skeptical because we tried to remove the roadside sale a couple of years ago, but then when the budget ended, we couldn't continue, and they were back. The vendors were back on the streets within a month. It seems that now they're adjusting because we've been working on it for a year and a half now, and they have been reduced significantly. It seems they're adjusting and starting to understand the reasoning of it. We're also trying to take a very positive approach to things. Like, for example, the vendors, they don't only get arrested, we also provided them with a market where they're legally allowed to sell. And we are also started an accreditation system for working animals. So we started a stamp of approval, which means we approve companies that adhere to the animal welfare guidelines, which we launched with the Malawi government in 2019. And we're very lucky that the Malawi government actually endorsed this accreditation system, which means in future, if you, as a security company, if you have dogs and you're not approved by us, you're not allowed to keep the dogs. So yeah, that's basically the response we get from those three parties.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think we have clocked an hour. So I'm going to ask one more question, which is in the chat section, and then we are going to close the webinar for today. This question is from Muhammad. So he's asking how do we push and incorporate animal welfare as an independent course in education curriculum? I think particularly that you have experience with collaborating with the education system there in Malawi, with the university system.
Yeah, so what is key there is that we work very closely with the university. Actually, the deputy dean is the chair of our board, and there's another doctor who's a lecturer who's also now board. We were key in setting up the veterinary department. So the university and the college, they like working with us, and we are the ones providing them with the practical training. And part of the project that we have with them is review of the curriculum. So we set up several meetings with the dean and lecturers to see how we could improve the curriculum in the college and university. And it took us, I think, about 1.5 years, but it has been updated and it's incorporated. Yeah. And one question I see there is how the community participation is involved in our work. Community is very, very important to us, especially in the rabies and the donkey projects. Without the communities involved, we would not be able to do what we do. So we have community groups, rabies action groups. We work with church leaders for animal kindness education. So we work very closely with our community in basically everything we do.
Great. I think a lot of great work there. A round of applause. Thank you so much from our presenters, Eveline and Sanele. Your presentations were very informative. We believe that you're doing a lot of good work, and some of us have learned a lot and are going to incorporate some of the key things that are driving your success into our own programming in the countries which we are operating in. To the audience, thank you so much for joining us. It has been a pleasure. Allow me to close this session, and I encourage you to also look out for other webinars in future, as Gina would make email invitations. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. I hope you all have a lovely evening, and we'll all see each other soon.
Thank you, Jenna. It was a lovely evening.
Thank you, everyone, and see you next time.